Well, good afternoon. Thank you so much, Judge Olson, for that kind introduction. It is wonderful to be here. My husband Steve and I were honored to attend the Red Mass this morning. What a beautiful and inspirational service. Distinguished clergy, Bishop Borchak, and honored guests, I thank you all for being here, and I thank Father Malachi and Judge Olson for inviting me to be here with you today. As you all know, Judge Judy Olson is one of your most distinguished alumna of St. Francis University, and she has served this Commonwealth for years now as an appellate judge. She serves with distinction, and getting to see the university where she was trained really gives me an insight into this woman, because she lives every day and she serves as a judge every day, standing for the principles and the values that she undoubtedly reinforced here at St. Francis. I might mention, Judge Olson, that you would be a welcome addition to our Supreme Court should you decide to follow that course in the future. I bring you greetings from Chief Justice Saylor and from all of my colleagues on the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania. I'm honored to have the opportunity to be with you here at St. Francis University to take part in your annual celebration of Law Day. I feel privileged each and every day to have the opportunity to serve the citizens of this Commonwealth as a justice on our Supreme Court. As you know, the Supreme Court is the highest court in our Commonwealth, and as Judge Olson mentioned, it is indeed the oldest Supreme Court in the nation, nearly 300 years old. Our court was formed officially by the Pennsylvania Judiciary Act of 1722, but it was actually a carryover of William Penn's Provincial Court, which was established in 1684. The cases that we hear impact all the citizens of Pennsylvania. Sometimes public opinion is with us, sometimes it is not. But the independence of the judiciary and our dedication to the Constitution and the rule of law remain sacrosanct. I've always believed, and I think Judge Olson would agree with me, as would Judge Gibson and our other judges here, that in addition to the obvious requisite qualities of intellect, integrity, and diligence, the most important characteristic of a judge is courage. It has been said that Law Day is an occasion when our people will pause to recognize the tremendous contribution that law has made in our way of life as a promoter of progress and as an ensurer of the human rights which make that progress possible. Although these words ring true today, they are not of recent vintage. Indeed, these words were part of an address given by Charles Rhine, then president of the American Bar Association, on Voice of America on the first Law Day in 1958, when Judge Olson and I were infants. Rhine is credited as the originator of the idea of a day to celebrate the unique and vital role of law in the American history and society. The original justification for Law Day was twofold. First, to celebrate the use of law to achieve individual and social justice, and second, to contrast our democracy with the repression inflicted by what were then communist nations during the Cold War era. However, this great idea for Law Day was nearly quashed before it was started. When presented with the proclamation designating May 1 as the very first Law Day, President Dwight D. Eisenhower in 1958 hesitated to sign it, having been told by an aide that it was a proclamation praising lawyers. God knows no one wants to be accused of doing that. However, upon reading the proclamation, President Eisenhower readily signed it, fully supporting the notion that a day of national dedication to the principle of government under law would afford us an opportunity to better understand and appreciate the manifold virtues of such a government and to focus the attention of the world upon them. Law Day has grown and evolved during its 60-year history. This celebration has been embraced and expanded throughout the United States and even the world. Since children are our future, we reach out to them on Law Day through essay and art contests and by visiting schools to speak directly to the students. As many attorneys devote their time to those who are underserved by the legal profession, pro bono efforts are celebrated and encouraged on this day. For all of the attorneys in attendance, I thank you for your pro bono services. I implore you to continue to be active in your community in whatever way you can, whether by performing pro bono legal work, volunteering, or sitting on a board of a charity about which you feel passionate, or even devoting your professional life to representing those who are less fortunate. Your life will be enriched if you pursue justice and equality. In the words of the late Senator Robert F. Kennedy, each time a man stands up for an ideal or acts to improve the lot of others or strikes out against injustice, he sends forth a tiny ripple of hope. It is our duty and obligation as standard bearers of our profession to send out as many ripples as we can, or even make some tidal waves in the name of hope and justice. This year's theme for Law Day in Pennsylvania is Separation of Powers, Framework for Freedom. This is a topic that has been on my mind a lot in recent months as our court struggled with the competing roles of the judiciary and the legislature in the hotly contested congressional redistricting case and with the threats of political retribution in response to our decision. A senior judge once told me that the judiciary is not the place to look for or accept to receive praise for your work. In fact, since cases inevitably result in some parties winning and some parties losing, the natural consequence is that some attorneys will walk away concluding the judge is an idiot, and the others will walk away congratulating themselves for the great job they did in winning. But as lawyers and as judges, we realize that we are guardians of our democracy, and we understand the importance of the rule of law and the sanctity of our Constitution. It is this reverence for the rule of law that renders our public officials accountable and the outcome of court decisions predictable. It assures that our citizens are treated equally under the law. The rule of law offers protection against the cruelty of arbitrary will. It is the keystone, the cornerstone, and a fundamental element of our democracy. As a Commonwealth and as a nation, we face challenges every day as we seek to express our varied yet heartfelt beliefs in an age of extreme polarization. Issues on which we disagree are oftentimes resolved in a court of law. The very fact that such decisions are made by independent judges means that our democracy is strong and our sacred freedoms are intact. In debating what liberty means in the free press, in teaching the Constitution to our children, and indeed even in gathering here today, we reaffirm our commitment to protect the freedoms for which our forefathers fought and died. A fundamental tenet of our democracy is that we have three co-equal branches of government, each of which serves as a check and balance on the other. Critical to this separation of powers is the recognition of the independence of our judiciary. Justice Sandra Day O'Connor reminded us that the framers of the Constitution were clear in the Federalist Papers and elsewhere that an independent judiciary was critical to the success of the nation. In a recent ABA Journal article on judicial independence, former president of the Pennsylvania Bar Association, Michael Reed, stated, "Judicial independence, the ability to decide court cases fairly and impartially, without fear of punishment, and without control or influence by the executive or legislative branches, is not a Democrat versus Republican issue, nor is it a liberal versus conservative issue. Threats to judicial independence have arisen from the right and the left, and judicial independence has been defended by those on the right and the left. Judicial independence is part of the DNA of American judicial systems, state and federal. It is one of the features that makes our courts models for other democracies. On this Law Day, let us take the opportunity to reaffirm our collective commitment to that time-honored principle. I thank you for inviting me to be with you today, and may God bless each and every one of you.